Welcome back to CEOs of the Industry with Dr. Brandi Burton, Managing Partner from Suidae Health and Production. Welcome to the show, Brandi.
Thank you for having me.
So, you're a veterinarian by training, a creative leader by nature. You stepped into the role in early 2025 and you're helping drive a progressive path forward for Suidae from tackling evolving health challenges, strengthening support for independent producers. Brandy, you're building a culture rooted in innovation, communication, and custom solutions. So before we've got a lot of great questions for you. I think it's important for our audience to understand the scale of Suidae Health and Production and the role you play in the pork chain, who you are, the size and scope of the work, and your business model serves independent producers differently.
Yeah. So Suidae is a little unique in how we're set up, but at our very core, we're a swine exclusive veterinary practice. We have 10 veterinarians today, and we'll have 11 here in the fall, located throughout the Midwest, primarily in Iowa and Minnesota. But we touch all points of the Midwest. And so we're, like I said, a veterinary clinic at our core. We do have several other different business units within that we also kind of join in with our vet services to add support. So from a veterinary standpoint, we probably touch, we're really bad at counting sows, to be honest, but maybe probably over 200,000 today. And of that, we manage about 50,000. That number is always changing, adding and removing some farms, but we're at about 50,000 sows of management today. But of total vet services, it's about 200,000 sows and about 2.5 million finishing hogs. And again, that's throughout all of the Midwest. I kind of mentioned management, so we do manage some farms for clients. That sows about 50,000 and about 110,000 finishing spaces. Both of those would cover both commercial and multiplication in those high health herds. And then we also have some research services that we provide through our business, and some product procurement, trying to get our independent producers to have some competitive edge as far as pricing goes. And our touch points are all throughout the Midwest. So I personally am licensed in about 6 states. I'm working on number seven. But we do touch about all 12 states within the Midwest pretty often. And of our vets, we kind of we're on the road all the time, traveling to those different states.
I love the story, Brandy. So you have a distinct approach in the market, different story than most people. I know you touched on it a little bit, but further from your perspective, what makes Suiday stand out in the swine health landscape?
Yeah, so one thing that I enjoy a lot is variety. And so Suidae, from our core and from the very beginning, has served independent producers. That's our core focus as a business. And what that means for me as a veterinarian in our business is we touch some really, say, small farmers or some niche market farmers that are still, they have a couple hundred sows or maybe not even that many, but gestating outside and doing outside production, all the way to some of the most high tech, most current large sow farm units and systems, and then everything in between. So we see a lot, and those are varied in geography, varied in setup, varied in genetics, varied in health statuses. And so, as a company and as a veterinarian here, we have to tailor our approach to that independent producer very uniquely. And so, what we hang our hat on is that we have a unique approach to each of those clients because that farm deserves, in order for it to be successful, needs that unique approach. And so, in everything that we do, it's with that perspective. And how we've grown from just veterinary services to management and research and other things is because we've seen that these independent producers just they need different services or different areas to make their business successful. And so we continue to adapt and try to help them in whichever way that we can help them make become successful. And by doing that, though, we have to be very flexible and approach that unique perspective for each of those guys.
Yeah, it's flexible and adaptable because it's not a one size fit all. It's really dependent on that operation and their goals and challenges.
Absolutely.
Are there any like specific values that guide in how you serve these clients?
Yeah, we really feel it's people, pigs first. And so the pigs are our first priority. We want to serve that pig and do that pig well. every decision that we make is to make sure we're doing the right thing by the pig. And then it's the people. So that's the caretakers and the clients. So we want to make sure that they're successful. The caretakers are prepped to do their jobs well and do them right. And that producer needs to be successful, with their pigs and as a business. And so we really truly feel if we can take care of those pigs and their people and we can serve them well, we can be successful in return. And so we have a very hand in hand approach to our clients. We feel very invested when we work with them, and we truly feel their success is our success, and that's our main goal.
So that's a great approach. Now, your journey to CEO managing partner at Suidae started in 2025. Um, but your path began as a young veterinarian with a research background. How did your early career mindset set you up for leadership at Suidae? And then I think you won an AASV award, right?
I did. I
Yeah.
did. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So how did this happen? And give us the background.
Yeah. So I started with Suidae in 2019, and coming to Suidae, the one thing that I've really appreciated being on this team is the support for really honing in on our interest as a veterinarian or as a young person. And so we had some research efforts, but nothing crazy, nothing, not a whole department by any means. And so got into research. I got a grant early on through BI with the respiratory awards that they used to do. They've changed the name a little bit now, but got a research grant that really helped kind of start the research program that I was able to develop. And from there, just continue to build on that. Really got to learn how to think creatively and creating that business unit for Suidae, working with people within our company, outside our company to continue that momentum that we had. Was super rewarding. And I've had just the great support from partners and the company behind me to really develop that to what it has become, which today is a 5-person team. Just, yeah, have lots of projects continually on our books. But that has really kind of helped me drive innovation and drive some of my leadership skills and trying to build that business unit, working with a variety of different people in different ways, and just trying to gauge how to make success look for us in that regard. And that's, yes, I was very fortunate. I was named the 2025 ASV Young Swine Vet of the Year. So I was awarded that this March, which unfortunately I was not able to be there at the conference when they handed that out. I was having a child at that time, but yeah, a lot of those opportunities I've been very blessed to have. I've become are because of the research and also with our clients that we've had to help support some of those efforts.
Well, congratulations on both fronts, Brandi.
Thank you.
And when you talk about research foundation, did that influence how you problem solve today?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it has taught me quite a bit as a researcher, as a veterinarian, as a leader, because research is humbling. It's always something's always going to go wrong. You can have the most perfect plans in place and protocols, and there's always something that's going to go wrong. And it's your way on how you approach those scenarios and those cases. You have to think on your feet. It's not the end of the world, and making sure everyone on the team isn't fretting, that they're under control, emotions don't get too high, stress can get high. And so you have to keep your cool and be able to think on your feet, problem solve quickly, figure out workarounds, and then communicate that with a team and lead a team through those hard times. Big research days are just, they're labor intensive. And so I think having that experience has really helped me, like I said, as a person and as a leader, and taking my role from research to more of the managing partner role, and able to kind of look at those scenarios and just train your mind on how to think through those cases.
Were there any challenges stepping into such a leadership role at a young age?
Yeah, maybe. I guess I have not been one to really think. I don't see challenge. I like to just harbor it, and I think of everything on the positive side. I'm a positive. Positivity is my number 2 strength when I do strength finders. So, I think I enjoy the challenge. So, what some people might find as a challenge, I find more of an opportunity. And so, I know I am a younger female in this industry and in this company, and I'm very fortunate to have a lot of employees that I feel respect me, and I have a lot of all my partners are as supportive as they can be, and so having that support team and really just having a good relationship with our employees within the company, I think helped transition into this role and helped it be well received by everyone. I'm not sure that it was a surprise. Maybe this at this time it was, but I don't think me being in this role was a surprise to any. And so I just think that the continued relationships I've tried to have with our employees and companies and those that we work with has just kind of helped that transition be pretty smooth.
Do you think the energy of being young blood is something Suidae needed?
Yeah, I think well, Suidae as a company is a quite young company, right? So Suidae didn't start until the first year was 1999, so it's only been around for 20 some years, and it's a relatively young company. But so Jason Kelly was the managing partner before me, and he is not old by any means, but I do think that we found value in having some more innovative thought to be successful in this game, right? There's a lot of great competitors we have, and there's a lot of forward thinkers in this industry. And continuing to drive that is really important for long term success. And so I think that's where our goals and where our mindset as a team really came down to how do we continue driving as a business. And that's one of the things that we just felt were necessary was some newer, fresher ideas, new set of eyes. We're a small company, but now we're a bigger small company. And that poses some more challenges and some more things that you have to just be more attentive to and develop and look into. So I think it was a good time to have someone who's a little bit more fresh and I feel like I'm an eager person. So it's really been a lot of fun to challenge, get into this challenge of this role.
How did you bring the internal teams together, Brandy, during this transition?
Yeah, it was more of a seamless transition, I'd like to think, but there's certainly changes. No one likes change, and I certainly like to kind of push for progress. And so for me, it comes down to communication and just making sure everything is very clearly communicated, follow up, things of such. I really value everyone's input. I can't do everyone's role and I can't do everyone's job, and I shouldn't. And so I have to really rely on my team and those that we've put in leadership roles within the company to help that progress. And so I lean on them a lot on their opinions and what they think the next step should be. And so just really honing in on getting everyone's opinion and their say, I think has been really big. And the communication with everything in life, you can't over communicate enough. So I'm just trying to really stay engaged and involved on all levels of our business.
Are there any other top leadership lessons you've learned?
Yeah, it's people say we become veterinarians to work with the animals. And I believe, I love working with pigs, but it's the people at the end of the day that matter. And then whether that's in veterinary medicine or in business, it comes down to people and how you interact. And I think a lot of what's made Suidae successful is the people. And so that just, I continue to learn on how to communicate. We do a lot of personality training. So as a company, we do disc training. As a vet team, we just recently here did strength finders. And so just honing in on the team that you have, knowing more about them, what makes them tick, what makes them successful, and what they can bring to the table for our company is super important. And so I've always appreciated that, but I think I've appreciated that more and more. Stepping into this role and really having to rely on others and what their strengths are to make us successful, and then continuing on using them to drive progress and growth as a business. And so, yeah, I never thought I'd be working in the office more days than on farm, but it's still rewarding. We're still working with people. It's just instead of with boots on slats, it's now in an office setting. And so that's been, yeah, it's the people aspect. I think you're as a leader, you should be continuing to learn on how to do that more and more.
And with that, as a veterinarian, you're used to tackling herd health challenges, Brandy.
Mhm.
So PRRS to E. coli, the different challenges keep evolving. How is Suidae approaching these issues differently?
Yeah, these bugs are definitely evolving, and those are the health challenges are still number one kind of headaches that swine producers have to deal with today. And antimicrobial resistance is real. We see that with E. coli, PRRS mutation, and the PRRS whole scenario is getting quite scary. But I think as our team approaches those health challenges, again, we go back to the unique perspective and unique approaches for each of our clients, and that can vary quite a bit. But we stay pretty open-minded, I think, as a team when we approach these health challenges. We rely heavily on working with others, so we rely on our experience as a team, lean on what everyone else has been doing, what has been successful. We communicate a lot in that regard to try to learn from each other, which I think is unique for a clinic, to have that much variety and background as a team. But then looking at, innovation and innovative tools, I think are going to be the forefront of how we deal with medicine and health going forward, right? E. coli is a great example. We have antibiotics that have worked in the past. We have some other vaccine-like products that we can use. But those tools are not always bulletproof, right? They sometimes, and a lot of times, just don't work because E. coli has become so smart. So we do have to work with our nutritionists and look at, the diets and different things. We have to look at sanitation, right? A lot of other things that aren't necessarily bugs and drugs. And so our vet team has made it very a conscious effort to look at everything that we can to help on the health side, but not maybe health, specific. And so I think you have to be open-minded when it comes to that. You have to look at the whole scenario and those diseases. Like especially E. coli is just one that we need more tools in that toolbox to really be effectively handling that bug at a cost-effective rate, right? Again, the producer needs to be successful and needs to be profitable at the end of the day. And PRRS is another one that's just always evolving. And I think we have a great network as a team, and our outreach. We are friends with other veterinarians in different systems and clinics and different universities and allied partners, and relying on outside sources to communicate what they're seeing, what they're doing, and learn from each other. I think we do that quite well. And we are the first, none of us are afraid to ask questions and ask for help or other opinions. And so I think that's really important when you're facing some of these harder diseases, that there's just not one answer that fits all. Taking everything that you can know and being up to date on some of the new technologies or new modes of different products and things of such, that being up to date and communicating with others in the industry is really important. And I think that we can do that well for all of our producers.
So how do you balance the science with practicality? And then are clients open to trying alternative strategies in health?
Mhm. Yeah, the science so research is my background. So science is a core of personally what I use every day in practice. And I think we are very, as a group, science based. And so, but at the same time, we are the first ones to acknowledge we live in the real world. And so a lot of science-based literature and a lot of the thing that's published on the science side does not always translate to in barn or in pig, is what I call it, right? And so we have to take what we know, interpret that information, and then use it to our best of ability and extrapolate that to our farms. So just because it fit in this case doesn't mean it'll fit in the real world. So I think we have to take a very the practical approach is key at the end of the day. The science can tell us to do something, but if it's cost prohibitive and it's labor prohibitive, it's never going to work. And so we have to kind of keep those things in mind. We have to put our practical lens on and say, what can our clients do? What can caretakers do to be successful? If we prescribe something or a process or a protocol that they will not complete, or compliance won't be there, it doesn't, it won't matter what we recommend. They have to be able to do it. And so we really try to balance both of those things. And at the end of the day, it only matters what happens at the slat level. And so we're able to, I think, take what we know, learn it, and apply that to our producers to try to use the science as best as possible, knowing that each case can be very unique.
Well, health and communication also equal results, I think. Um, Communication's key in health management. How are you evolving how Suidae communicates solutions with clients?
Yeah, that's a hard one. We would love to try to figure out how to communicate better. I think that there's always ways to improve there. We are very actively talking with our clients. If there's other like specific pieces that they're looking for, we can provide a lot of literature for them. But for a general sense, we do have quarterly newsletters where we try to put out some very pertinent time-related information, whether that's about PRRS or a recent research study we've done, or something that's new on the market. Like for a while there, we were doing a lot of ASF updates. We do some PRRS updates just to try to get the information out there of where we're at today, at least among our clients. So there's a little bit more of a geography base to that. Um, and then there's other things, that it is a newer generation coming up on our farms. And so social media is becoming big. So trying to be more present on social media to get information out there. There's a lot of groups that are putting some really good information. So how can we make sure that that is getting into the hands of our clients and producers? So we'll share a lot of other things on social media and those platforms. And then, we have a website that we have that hopefully will have some more information as we continue to evolve that. We're moving to more of like an e-commerce platform. So just trying to always have touch points to our clients that they can go to find most update information electronically. And they're always more than welcome to call. And our team here is always happy to answer questions that they have.
Are there any specific examples where better communication made the difference, Brandy?
Yeah, I think especially when we work with so many different kinds of clients, so we can go through and we can write these elaborate reports, including a lot of research that we put it into them and pictures and diagrams and such. And some clients love that and they find a lot of use in that. Sometimes a client just wants to know the quick and dirty, what did you see? What do you think? And so one thing that we've approached as a team when we talk to our clients is we want to know how they want us to communicate with them. And so just because I think it's a really good communication form doesn't mean that they do. And at the end of the day, it just matters what they think. And so we really try to hone in on our clients, their needs of communication. Some like a text, some like a call, some like quick reports. And so I think when we talk about success and how that is measured on the farm, I think immediate response from our clients and their positive feedback helps that communication piece in driving decisions and in driving long-term results. And so it can vary quite a bit from client to client again on their needs on communication. And I think we need to remind ourselves of that a lot. Just because I think I'm a good communicator doesn't mean that's reciprocated on the other side. And so always just keeping in touch with our clients, asking how we can improve and looking for their preferred method, I think is what's really drives success long term. We don't have a prescribed way. And again, I think that adds to the value of Suidae and how we approach everyone with such a unique case for each one.
Now, what about ag tech and ROI? Like I find ag tech's growing rapidly, but ROI can be tough to measure. What's your philosophy on the technology adoption in our industry?
Yeah, again, my research background has also kind of led me to doing some more on the technology side. And I do believe that technology has a place, absolutely. And I do believe it will be a large player in pork production going forward. I'd say, still in the early stages of technology in ag, especially specifically in swine. You have other industries like crops and all that they've been using it for a while and have been really well adapted. But in the swine industry, it's still fairly new. And so each person and producer again will find their own value. And so some need a communication tool. There's a lot of really great communication tools out there that will help with some language barriers or also are really good in adapting to real-time information. So there's platforms out there that communicate within a chat, or you can post on the app and other people can see and respond and use it that way. And so if communication with your team is something that you're looking to improve, I think those apps are great for that. Some like it just for real-time data. There's a lot of data. There's so much data that we capture on farms. And so using that data and how do we make more real-time decisions? If you're a producer that will use that information, then those apps are more going to, find value there. I think labor is a big one. And, the newer generation that we're trying to get on farms, I think they like having phones in their hand. They like having these apps and these things to kind of mess with, and they like some visual parts of it. And so I think there are clients out there that will use some of these new tools and applications and technologies because that's what the employees like. And there's a value to keeping employees on your farm and having them feel engaged. And so adding an ROI to all that is really hard. And I don't think we do a really good job of it today. I'm not going to stand here and tell you I have that answer of how to do that, but each producer, each system, each client has to understand or know what their end goal is. And if there's a technology that can help improve that, for whatever reason that may be, as long as there's improvement, or you can at least say that the investment is worth the money. I think a lot of people have gone to those technologies to help. And I think we will find that value over time. The more people that use those technologies, the more that they advance, the more that they're worked with. I think there'll be a lot of ROI, and particularly when you can take that data and make it work for you. I think there's a lot to come in AI and how we can use all this data. So I think we're working towards there. And I think we'll get there, but it is still a challenge today on how to justify those costs.
Do you see any types of tech that are most useful for independent producers currently?
Um, I've seen a lot of value in some of those technologies that revolve around communication. And so that language barrier is becoming more and more prominent on farms as we're getting a lot of outside workers that are great, but it's just hard to communicate with some supervisors and some owners. And so those tools to help streamline that communication has been really, I think, helpful. And then also the data integrity and those who use a lot of data. There's a lot of those technologies out there. And I think also giving light to some practices that we think are happening or we assume are happening. And some of these new technologies, we can actually say, yes, this is what we're doing and how often we're doing it. And some of those, it can kind of shed light on what's really going on in a farm. And so I think some independent producers are able to kind of lean on those technologies to help answer, true areas of production that could use some work.
So one of the things we talked about earlier, Brandy, was independent producers as the core focus. Why is that such an important part of your strategy?
It's the foundation that Suidae was really, really built on from the get-go is serving that independent producer. And we feel passionate about helping them and serving them. They need a voice in the big grander scheme of the industry. And so how can we help them be competitive? There's some independent producers that can grow and will grow to be larger producers and systems. And then there's some independent producers that just want to raise pigs and have something for their kids to do or inherit along the line. And those are they need some assistance in making them competitive to have that longevity. When you compare them to other bigger systems, right? You get competitive edge with volume. And some of these producers, they don't want volume or they can't have the volume. And so they need a way to stay competitive to have that longevity. I think they're very valuable to have in the industry because they do bring such a variety of different strategies and different, I think we need that variety within the industry. And so they're very, very important to continue that. I think a lot of them have some really great, intentions on being on farm. Those are the guys that own the barns, own the pigs. So they're really in the barns and once taking care of the pigs and really involved. And so I think there's a lot of good that comes from them. They have a lot of great ideas. And so we're continuing learning from each other. And I just think it's a really good basis to make sure that we continue to have those guys within the industry. And so we're here to make sure that they're here for the long run in any way, shape, or way that we can.
I think it's great because we keep adding diversity to the industry. It kind of goes back to its roots as people raising pigs and love
Mhm.
what they do. Do they face any specific challenges right now, Brandy?
Yeah, there's always challenges when you have, again, you go to the scale of volume. When you have things like PRRS, like a PRRS break on a smaller farm, and that's your only farm, that really hurts. When you're a big system and you have other farms to kind of make up for that, right? It hurts, but maybe not as bad. And so there's definitely these disease challenges that are really hitting these independent producers harder, I'd say. And 2023 was a bad year for everyone. And I think that one was particularly bad for independent producers. You saw some people who were ready just to be out, didn't want to have the loss of what 2023 was. But there's some that were really strong and have held out and really want to grow their family business. And so we're continuing to have, marketing, getting market access, competitive contracts. I think that's going to be something independent producers are gonna challenge for a while. I'd really love to figure out a way to make them, get. There is a way. We will figure it out one day. But how do we make those guys more competitive on the marketing side? And then, yeah, using those, I'd say marketing and disease challenge really kind of pose a threat to those independent producers, just again, from that volume standpoint. And then you do also have a lot of aging facilities. You have aging owners. Not all families who raise pigs have generations that want to continue raising pigs. And so we're kind of, seeing some of that. How do those transition, from family to family work? And so there's going to be a little bit of that we're going to help some clients through as well. So just a kind of a whole, a few things that kind of add to the whole grander scheme of things of just making sure that those guys stay around long term.
Now, with custom solutions, we touched about that as well. Not one size fits all. Not two farms are the same. And I want to continue to explore how Suidae tailors its strategies for each producer.
Yeah. So again, we're always approaching each of these clients and farms knowing that they're unique. And so whether that's from the vet side, we work with a lot of different nutritionists across the industry to make sure that those are, we have good relationships with a lot of nutritionists, genetics. We use a wide variety of genetics to tailor to all of those things. So we are able to use the experience we have with all these different types of products in different areas to cater the needs of what makes that farm successful. So first we want to define success on what they feel, what their determinants of success is. We all look at success differently. So making sure that we understand how they view success. And then from there, tailoring our plans, whether that's health, whether that's genetics, whether that's pig flow, whether that's, a batcher or not. Is that looking at expanding their business? Or are we looking at, there's just a lot of different components that go into that. And everyone's different. And so we have to turn our brains on to approaching that system very uniquely. And we're trained that way. That's the only way we know. Even when we talk about management, our managed system, they're under the Suidae management umbrella, but each of those farms are independent. Some of them, they all have different veterinarians. They all have some different production supervisors. And so even under our management umbrella, we do not believe in a one fits all. So just kind of approaching their needs, and then we use what they think. Like I said, I believe that others have better ideas than I do. I think that if the ones on the farm have ideas, that we take that and run with it. So a lot of times our clients bring us ideas. We talk about them, see how we can fine tune them, and then we implement them on their farm. And we use those experiences as a team to then take it to other farms as needed. So it's definitely a relationship using what the producer and the clients want, the caretakers see, using those ideas and just really tailoring them to what is the end goal of being success.
Well said, Brandy. Are there any other stories where a customer approach made a measurable difference?
I would say yes. And I think that's kind of the success of Suidae. I think that's the Suidae story, to be honest. It's kind of been the foundation of what Suidae was built on. And I believe that's what's made Suidae successful. So, like I said in the beginning, if our clients can be successful, then we can too. And so I think we will continue to cater to each client with a unique perspective, a unique vision, And I believe the outcome of them being successful has made us successful. And I think we've had a lot of momentum in recent years. And I think that's kind of a reflection of that approach. I think it's working very well for a lot of people. And so we'll continue to do so going forward.
So with succession planning and aging producers, you talked about aging facilities as well. How can you help clients navigate succession planning when there may not even be a next generation?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. And I think it's gonna be a long-term goal and long-term journey for that. But there's several different options, and that's using our network to find others that may be in a similar boat, looking for other opportunities. If there's someone selling, is there going to be a buyer? Just really using our network to connect people to see if they can fit in each other's plans for that. And then just, there's a lot of aging facilities that are with some good maintenance are still functional, right? So not all aging facilities are worthless. So really, we have a great team. We have a couple on staff that are really great at building design. So there's some retrofits that you can do, especially when you talk about biosecurity. It's an investment a lot of times, but sometimes if you get creative, you don't need a brand new facility to have the most biosecure, up to date, facilities. So really, just thinking on our feet, using what we have, is I think been very key for, especially here in Iowa. We have a lot of disease pressure, and we're having to really use what we have and just make it better. And so, just using our network of people, our resources, and creative minds, I think we can go a long way and either connect people or use what we have and just make it functional and continue to use that asset as long as possible.
So one thing that you're passionate about, Brandy, is developing young talent. What's your vision for doing more of that effectively? Because people talk about labor, people talk about recruitment, all of those things, but you have a deep passion in this.
Yeah, yeah, and I come from an atypical background. So I'm from Chicago originally, and so not I didn't grow up in ag, and so anyone I do believe with the right education and right experiences can grow appreciation and a passion for agriculture and in the swine industry specifically. I think recruitment is big, just showing the variety of what you can do within the swine industry. We'll keep it in that bucket. Is big, and so here at Suidae a lot of times we bring good talent on our team and then we let them explore and really hone in on those interests that they have, and develop into those interests. And so whether that's here at Suidae, whether that's on our farms, how do we really try to engage those young people that are interested in trying to dabble and see if this is something they want to do long term? How can we make sure that we are really tuning into what their interests are? Education and just knowledge is power. And I think a lot of our young people on farms and within the industry today just are just thirsty for knowledge. So they love when I'm on farm and I'm necropsing a pig, they love to see that. It's so basic for me at this point, but they love that kind of stuff because it's new. It's interesting. So how can we just make sure we're facilitating those growth opportunities for people? How do we make sure that they're really interested in a lot of things going on. So I think the technologies are a big seller, and just keeping them engaged and really honing in on those interests will be big. And I think lastly, the newer generations coming on, which I'm still, I guess, on the tail end. I guess the generation coming on below me is a different generation than what I am, but that immediate feedback is I think what they really, really like. That next they've always had phones in their hands. They've always had that notification that's coming. And so that immediate feedback, I think, for the next generation is really key. And we have to keep that in mind when we're trying to get young talent into the swine industry.
So continue to get the feedback from the next generation to build that sustainable approach for recruitment.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Are you building leadership pathways internally at all?
Yeah, we do a lot of like I mentioned earlier, we do some disc training as a company, and we do some different personality and leadership training. I think we can always do more. That's something that in those soft skills are really important. But one thing within Suidae, at least specifically, is we, like I said, let people kind of hone in on their own interests. And so we are really supportive of our employees when they say, hey, I really enjoyed this piece. So how can we help support them in whether that's classes, whether that's tools, whether that's some extra time from their schedule to research and learn about different aspects that they're interested in, and supporting them to grow, I think has really been a great tool in building leaders, because when they're more engaged and interested and there's a development piece, I think you inherently learn some different skills as it pertains to being a leader. And so just that extra support in those efforts has gone a long way, and we continue to do so here at Suidae with internally, and just always supporting and encouraging those to really kind of engage, become more engaged within the business and the industry. And from there, just kind of shape them into the leaders and that progressive thinker that they can be.
As one of the best vets out there, Brandy, I want to backtrack a little bit. Smarter disease control and evolution. You monitor PRRS sequences and you've watched the disease evolve. How's Suidae using technology to manage the health more proactively?
Yeah. So on the PRRS front specifically, there's a platform. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at sequences. The diagnostic labs have a lot of different ways to also help producers and veterinarians evaluate those sequences. And when we're looking at sequences, it's to either measure how they're moving, how they're evolving, or where they come from. And so there's a lot of different reasons why we need to know that information, or how that value, we find value in having that information. So one way that we do it here internally is using a platform called BioPortal. And so we're able to use that platform. It's managed and done by UC Davis. And we can use that here internally. So we have immediate feedback of when those sequences come in, and we can use it specifically for our clients here. So we have a couple staff that are trained up on how to use that. So again, we can immediately answer questions of, is this a similar strain? Is it a new strain? Has it changed? Looking at different sites, using kind of our whole database, since we do cover a wide variety of regions, and we do cover a lot of, say, Iowa, Minnesota, but the larger region as well, we can use our clients to know and help each other figure out if it's this strain, like what's that one acting? What are the clinical impressions that this PRRS strain has? What did it do at that farm? And use our network within the company to answer those questions to help our clients determine the best strategy for prevention or elimination, what the next steps are if they see that virus, or if they're recently infected with that virus.
How have depop or repop strategies and elimination protocols changed recently?
Yeah. In my short career, when I started, Depop, Repop really wasn't anything that I was thinking about or really having to handle very often. And fast forward to today, and that's quite often what's happening. And that's because of the devastation that some of these PRRS strains cause, not only on sows aborting and dying, and but we have, piglet death loss within the farrowing house, nursery death loss. And so it's important, again, to know when we have these new breaks and strains, what other clinical impressions do we know about that strain to make the best educated guess. Every strain is different. Absolutely. They can always change and act differently in each farm. But how can we use the prior knowledge on that strain to determine, should we do a depop repop? Is the devastation so great? Are we not going to be weaning pigs for several weeks because of the virus, that it just makes more sense to get rid of that? A lot of companies are also worrying about other sow farms in the area. So does it make more sense to depop this farm to save other farms in the area, right? We're thinking more broadly than just these farms that we have to handle. And so those conversations are having way more and more often, because the PRRS we're seeing is just much more devastating, and we're seeing a lot more mortality from some of the strains today, and they're getting into farms a lot more easily. I think the seasonality of PRRS is gone, right? I think everyone can all be on the same page as that. And so just how do we manage some of that biosecurity and those strategies is really important. So it's starting to vary quite a bit. There's not a elimination protocol, and that's it. We're starting to have to be pretty creative on how we manage these viruses and handle them to get them out.
Well, let's specifically look at your vision, Brandy. The next 3 to 5 years, do you have a strategic vision for Suidae?
Yeah, we I think we're on a really great track. We've got a lot of momentum. We've got a absolutely fantastic team and a great team of veterinarians. And so we would just love to continue to grow. On the vet services side, our management side has a lot of momentum. We hired Dr. Mitch Christensen to direct our management services, and he's done a fabulous job there. And so just continuing to add value and wherever we can. Our research, I'm biased, obviously, being one that started kind of our research department, but our research team is just top notch. We have a lot of really great stuff coming from that. So I see us continuing to grow, continuing to try to very consciously have a presence in the industry. And like I said, serve that independent producer wherever they may be as best as we can.
I like what you said about the research part of it as well. Success personally, how does that look for you and as a leader and steward of the company?
Yeah, I think this is a brand new role. Only, I was in it for a couple months when on maternity leave and came back. And so still I'd say fairly new in this role for Suidae. And so just would personally, my goals here are to just try to continue being creative and finding new ways and new um, pathways for us to serve independent producers. And so there's a lot of opportunity out there. So how can we serve them better in ways that we're not doing today? So what other business unit section do we have? I think biosecurity is one that we're really getting on board. It's super important, but there's a lot I think still to be done there, and just a lot of different avenues. So I'm just my personal goal is to do whatever I can to help the business really drive progress, continue that creative, innovative thinking, and just think of new ways to help the swine industry as a whole.
Well, this was a great conversation, Brandy. Are you down for the closing segment, the Fast Five questions?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, so one book or podcast that shaped your leadership thinking.
Yeah, so actually, I was preempted. I had to prepare for this section, so I actually did grab. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Two hard things. Dr. Firkins from the University of Illinois recommended that book in several different leadership programs that I've done. I think it is great for any leader or any person that just has some really high expectation and high goals for them personally and professionally. Just a super great book on how to mentally look at things and change your perspective on a lot.
What do you believe the pork industry underestimates right now?
So we have some very prolific sows and some very high performing pigs. I think we actually underestimate how well they can perform. So we have some high performing sows, right? Total born is just skyrocketed as an industry. Mortality is one that we're always trying in finishing. Mortality and finishing is one that we're always trying to tackle. And I've seen some really great strides in a lot of different systems. And I think we need to figure out how do we push the norms when it comes to basic stuff, feed, water, environment. How do we make sure that we're really tailoring it to the pig today? Because I think the pig today is a little different than the pig 5 years ago, even. So we need to continue pushing on what that pig needs because I think we can drive that performance even more.
Best advice you've received as a leader?
Um, It comes down, again, I think this was Dr. Firkins that would have said it, but it comes down to the people. And without the people, you're nothing. So without our employees, without our clients, Suidae would not exist. And so just always remembering and keeping in mind it comes down to them and how to be successful.
Favorite part of your day-to-day role?
Yes, I love working with our clients. I think we have the best clients in the world. I'll be biased in that. And we talk about external and internal clients. And so even the people I work with here at Suidae are just awesome. So I just every day I always say so cheesy, but I don't feel like I work a day in my life. I think I've found a job where I don't feel like I work. And I think it's just because I'm surrounded by just great people.
And three words you'd use to describe Suidae in 2025.
Yes, so I think Sude is very eager, very excited, and very optimistic. Those would be the three words.
Well, Dr. Brandi Burton, thanks for joining us on CEOs of the Industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.